as part of the training. Not here. Right.
All right. Hello, Apollo Consulting. Welcome to the 24-hour preliminary round of CoMIS 2023. My name is Sophia. Today's presentation will be judged by Pam, Lisa, Alex, and Chris. You will have 25 minutes in total, 15 minutes of protected presentation time, and 10 minutes of questions and answers. During the protected presentation time, judges are not permitted to interject and ask questions. If you finish your presentation before 15 minutes end, you will still only have 10 minutes for the questions and answers. There will be a hard cutoff at 15 minutes, and we will be giving you a time warning when 3 minutes, 1 minute, and 30 seconds are left via paper. You may start now.
Good morning. My name is Milton Gatcher. I'm here with Nanjavia, Simone Ferrari, and we are Apollo Consulting. Excited to bring to you a work process optimization strategy that will improve your customer experience. Today, we'll present to you what the status of LifeFloor's processes look like today and what it can look like in the future should they implement the recommendations we're going to offer to them, along with the risks and mitigation strategies that will allow that to happen as smoothly as possible. We begin by looking at what the customer process looks like on the view of the sales manager. The sales manager begins by introducing an opportunity on NetSuite. After that opportunity is generated, they go over a budget that is an overestimate that would allow them to not get into any potential cost overrun. And finally, they extend the lead time because of the design backlogs to make sure that they can comprehensively address all of the necessary customer concerns. As you can see, there are clear issues with this process. First of all, by introducing it on NetSuite and then using an Excel spreadsheet to input some of the data and then using Slack channels to control over what are going to be the requirements to complete the assignment, that information is not at all integrated or coordinated. As such, they have to go over about 360 Slack channels to address all of the necessary assignments that have under their portfolio of projects. Secondly, the soft quote generation is not going to be as accurate as it possibly be because they do not employ as many as necessary data management tools to leverage the historical information they have stored on a Google Drive to allow for soft code generation of prices to be as accurate as it could possibly be. Thirdly, there's a long lead waiting time. And that is because they have to wait for over 1 week for 2 hours worth of work to be generated on the part of the installers. That is a clear problem that does not allow them to get back to their customers in 3 to 2 days as opposed to 5 to 7 days as indicated. Now, as we look into those issues, we have to ask ourselves, what questions would allow us to get to the best solution possible for LifeFloor? So, how can we make the sales manager's job's life easier? The first question we have to address is how can we potentially streamline the tile counting process? Secondly, how can we streamline the work process of LifeFloor to design, price, and build proposals for all of their projects?
Thank you for posing those questions, Milton. Let's get into the first question. How do we streamline the tile counting process? I would like to refer back to the current as-is process that we have and mention that we would like to try to make it easier for this part of the as-is process, where we manually count the tiles, and we also send it to the installer partners for them to review it and make some adjusted changes. When we were asking ourselves the question, how can we streamline the counting process? We thought to ourselves, is there a way that the tile counting process can be completely outsourced so that our design teams don't have to spend time on it? Then we looked ahead and looked at some of the data that was provided. And we saw that in one of these sheets, the design team of LifeFloor spent a lot of time in calculating the quantity of each tile required. And then once we calculated the tiles, we sent it to our partner Insider Edge to count exactly how many would they need for their installment, which means that the time that we spent was not most effectively utilized, and our design team spent some time on it. but it was not most effectively utilized, which got us thinking, what if we come up with a proposal for Insider Edge to completely take over our counting process, which would improve the efficiency of the entire process, and it would also give our design team one less job to do so that they can focus on their actual competencies to do the design process. Now, currently, as we understand, that it takes 1 week for them to come up with a counting estimate, but it's also a free process. That's probably another reason why it takes a long time for them to get back to us, while this is a process that can be done in 2 hours. And what got us thinking is we can come up with a proposal where we pay them a premium, a little bit of extra money, which would be an extra revenue for them. And we believe that they would be interested in working with us if we pay them an extra premium to help us completely outsource the accounting process. Let's get into the benefits of what would happen if we outsource the entire tile counting process. The first one and the most clear one is time savings, because our design team, will not be spending a lot of time in counting all the tiles. The second one is improved efficiency, because one of the steps of the design team will be eliminated so that they can focus on their core competencies, which is to design and not to count the tiles. There is a huge backlog of the designing team right now. So doing this would actually help them to focus more on their designing and reduce that backlog, which would overall just streamline the entire process and get the proposal generated faster. Fourthly, talking about enhanced accuracy. So as we saw earlier, that although we count some things and we spend time on it, but the installers know exactly how much they will be needing, which means that there will be a much better accuracy and an efficient way to deal with that accuracy. And lastly, one of the more important things is that we see that LifeFloor is growing at 30 to 40% every year, which means that you're acquiring new customers every year. So in the short-term future, you will come into a problem where you wouldn't have enough capacity and bandwidth in your design team to do all the counting process. So trying to figure out a solution where you can outsource it will help your scalability, and it will help you to not run into issues in the future when you come up with more customers. Now, let's get back to the second question, which was how can we streamline the entire workflow? And we'll also, first of all, I would like to mention that we would like to reduce the request design. So this is the entire current as-is flow, and we would like to move to trying to reduce the design request. Now, in the other solution that we're going to propose right after this slide, we would like to remove the entire generation of requests, remove the Slack channels to share all the documents, remove the manual counting of the slides, which we showed that can be done by outsourcing. We would also remove the use of spreadsheets, where we have one platform where we can share the information all the time. And lastly, we would also remove the need of inputting the data again and again in order to generate the final proposal. We believe that removing some of these steps, or these 5 steps mentioned, will help us streamline the workflow process in a better way. Now, what's the solution to do this exact process? Currently, we understand that LifeFloor uses the NetSuite CRM system. The CRM system has some benefits, but it doesn't have all the capacities which a NetSuite project management software also has. We believe that we understand that right now, LifeFloor is trying to implement the project management software of NetSuite in the post-sale part of their business. We are recommending that you also negotiate another deal with NetSuite, or perhaps just expand that implementation to also the pre-sale environment, where all of these other benefits that are that come with the project management tool, and also working with the CRM and project management together, will really help you to completely streamline the process and have all of that Slack channels and Excel sheet removed from the entire workflow process, which would have all of your data only in NetSuite. Now let's move on to what would the process flow look like. Talking about NetSuite project management. So we believe that all of these other steps can be combined in one data management system, where all of these other stakeholders will have access to it. Let's run through it one after the other. Talking about the sales manager. So first of all, the sales manager would request a project, and it would put the basic information about the customer, the location, the shape and sizes, if it's a pool, if it's an aquatic center, if it's indoor, if it's outdoor, if it's a cruise line, if it's a hotel, if it's a university, whatever basic information that was being put 3 times in the past will only be put 1 time. So in the past, it was put first on the CRM, then on the Excel sheet, and also on the Slack channels while they're chatting with each other. All of that will be streamlined into one NetSuite management software. Now, once he puts all the information, the project sales manager can create a design request. That design request will be received by the design team. Once the design team receives the request, they can go ahead and create the design using AutoCAD and Illustrator, which we believe are the preferred tools that they use. And once they have finished the design, they need to send the design back to the sales manager. So once the design is sent back to the sales manager can send it to the customer for approval to make sure everything is okay. And once that is done, the sales manager can go back to NetSuite and send it to the installer partner. Now, the sales manager and the design team are part of LifeFloor. So it's very easy to give them access to NetSuite, depending on whatever requirements do they need. The installer partner will be a third-party vendor. So we need to just make sure with NetSuite that we're giving them only the access that they require and not all the access. Now making sure that once the installer partner receives a request to count. So this is the time when the design has been finalized. And instead of our design team counting, we're sending it directly to the vendor to do the counting process. All the information that the counter needs before they start counting will be on NetSuite automatically. So there wouldn't be any manual process to tell them what this is or whatever. There wouldn't be any Excel sheet. There wouldn't be any Slack channel there. Once they receive the request to count, they can count the number of quantities that they need in the slide. And then right now is another part where NetSuite, where LifeFloor is going to save time. Currently, what happens is the Excel sheet that they have, the installer selects each and every type of slide that they need on the Excel sheet. And then the shared services department, which is department in LifeFloor, needs to go ahead and input that information in NetSuite again. This would help solve that problem because when we are negotiating a contract with the installer, we can negotiate a contract that, look, you're not going to send it to us on Excel. You're going to put it on NetSuite, which you will have some access to. So depending on each and every project, whatever tiles do they need, they can go on NetSuite, go on the drop-down list, see the number of tiles that they want to put, and then they can put the number of quantities. So all the data will be in one place in the NetSuite project management tool. Once the installer has counted and he updates the quantities of tiles needed for each and every project, it goes to the shared services department. Now, the job of the shared services department in the current process is that they have to put all the details again, which takes about 2 hours. But right now, the shared services department has everything on NetSuite. All they need to do is go ahead and just look over it and approve it.
Now, we will have 2 distinct phases for our rollout. We'll begin by negotiating with one of the installers, likely inside Edge, and then communicate with NetSuite to expand the service offering they already provided to LifeFloor. Secondly, after those negotiations have taken place, we'll communicate these strategies to our board and make sure that they're in line with strategic initiatives they have already set in place. The second phase begins with the implementation of this rollout. After we do so, we want to make sure that our KPI assessments indicate whether the initiative that Nan just discussed has been successful or not. And should it be successful, it should indicate to us that we can expand it so that we can add the number of vendors, installers that coordinate the tile counting with us, as well as decide how we can integrate even further the process with NetSuite to make sure that the design team and the sales manager teams are aligned in delivering the best and most effective solutions to our customers. That will deliver 3 KPI factors. First, we want to make sure that we can survey our sales and design teams to decide whether or not they are happy with the new processes that we have recommended. We also want to make sure that we're reducing the quotation generation timeline to make sure that instead of taking over 5 to 7 days, we can bring that down to 3 to 2 days as fast as possible, as well as making sure that the data error cost reduction that is up to $10,000 to $20,000 a year can be brought down to $5,000 and potentially as minimal of amount as possible.
Okay, now so we want to talk about the break even. For the break even, we consider a time period of around 2 years. According to our estimation, we found that the Kelsey and Susie's team use a lot of time to spend a lot of time focusing on tasks that are not theirs. Our solution, I think, according to our estimation, our solution, we think that is going to benefit the company more than $60,000 a year. On the other hand, the estimated cost of the implementing NetSuite and outsourcing the accounting tails is going to cost a little bit less than $50,000. This gives us the opportunity to have a break even in a little bit more than 1 year.
Now, we need to be proactive about our risks, and we can do so by outsourcing. Making sure that we have clear timelines for all of our planners and offering comprehensive training to all of our employees.
The solution we want to finish from where we started. We asked 2 questions. How can we streamline the counting tiles process, and how can we streamline the overall work process flow? We think that outsourcing the tile counting and implementing the NetSuite will benefit the company.
Your protected presentation time has ended. Judges, you have 10 minutes to ask your questions. Starting now.
I have a question. Can you go back to your risk slide? So 2 questions. The first one, do you know what the installers? There's multiple installers. The company has multiple installers as partners all around the world. Are you thinking that Inside Edge would be they would be the counters, or are you thinking that each installer would do the counting? Second question, did you think about this, the risk of the timeline, because now this is out of the control of LifeFloor's, team, as to how long they will take. So your solution is offering additional incentives. Did you take that into account in the budget part? And as this scales, because sales are increasing, did you take that into account that this is going to be just higher and higher?
Yes. So to the first question, we begin with Inside Edge, and obviously we cannot do it with every single installer because some of them are not as experienced. That's the information that the company shared with us. So we want to have a trial and see what the impact of using them will be on our company, on LifeFloor. Secondly, we implemented the model, and if they can break down in 2 years, that should be able to work for LifeFloor. On the other side, the other alternative we considered, and a study after looking at the KPIs and the impact would be whether or not we can pass some of those costs to the customers, because they have different design custom requirements. And if one of them is very comprehensive, we can look at choosing one installer to do the tile counting, accelerate the process in which that's done, and then add a premium for the timeline that is shortened to provide that solution.
When it comes to working with our partners, it feels like the counting of tiles is one of those things, those maybe inefficiencies that we want to remove from our processes, right? It sounds like we want to move those inefficiencies to our partner, right? Why would our partner, such as Insider Edge, be willing to take on some of those inefficiencies in place of us handling them ourselves?
So we believe that it's an inefficiency on our part, but it could be an opportunity for them to make extra revenue. Someone's trash is someone else's treasure. So if we have that inefficiency, we don't need to tell them that it's a part of our inefficiency. But we need to kind of come up with a new proposal for them, because right now they take 1 week because it's free. But we believe that if we actually give them a proposal to increase their revenue, I mean, usually no one says no to money, you know? So on the other hand, when this will be outsourced, we will be able to focus on our core competencies. But we also believe that working with our partners like this and having them make extra revenue will also strengthen our relationships with these vendors in the future, even if it starts with one of them, but it can also grow to other ones.
Wouldn't they be doing it for free because they get the installation contract on the back end?
I mean, that's what's going on right now. And we understand from the information provided that it's been taking 1 week. And we also got more information which said that it's actually like a 5-minute to 2-hour process. Now, if they're taking 1 week for a 5-minute to 2-hour process, which means that there's not any incentive for them to do it faster. They have backlogs, they have other customers, Everyone's been doing it for free. And we believe that even like other customers of them, they are very used to like getting it for free and waiting for it. But if we believe that if we go to Insider Edge and tell them that, look, we're willing to give you more revenue, which as Milton mentioned, could actually, according to our models, it will already be covered by the time that our design team and shared services team cost. But if you believe that that is not feasible, then you can also try to think about sending those costs to the customer in the future. And if it scales, I mean, if you send it to the customer, I feel like it would kind of negotiate it equally and solve all of everyone's problem and also have some extra revenue for the vendor.
What do you see as the fee that they're going to charge you for doing this outsourced work?
Sure.
And maybe you shared it and I'm just not remembering.
So in the current analysis that we made, we went on and looked at right here. So we were thinking about what is the cost that we save to offer them to them, right? Because the amount of money that we are saving on our end is a decent amount of fee that we could be offering to them. On our side, we have the design team and the shared services team. These two teams are the ones which will be saving time. And according to the information provided, it would be about 1 to 2 hours per team. So we took an average designer's time and then shared services time and put $25 per hour according to the normal salary of a designer in America and divided it by the number of hours that they work per year. We found the hourly salary of the designers and then the shared services people as well. The percentage that you see here are small custom, non-custom projects, big but non-custom projects and big custom projects. So we divided the projects into 3 different categories and we tried to price them differently because we understand that not all projects are going to be easy for them to count. So we'll be providing them with a different incentive for different sizes of projects. And we can also go into more detail if they want to work with us and negotiate the exact terms. But on this side, we believe that the estimated cost savings that we have is $19,300 in the first year. And we can use that into the benefits that will be provided because we can pay them to the Insider Edge, but we'll also be saving that much money on our end.
You had mentioned, I think in your opening, that this solution would improve my quote accuracy. I wasn't quite seeing that. How does this improve the quote accuracy? And then what is the benefits that we're getting in doing so?
So it's clear that the overestimation sometimes does not even cover the full costs that they send to the customer. So we want to make sure we can generate a more accurate soft quote earlier on for some of these customs and big projects. And by generating a more accurate version of that, we will decrease the number of instances in which the sales manager goes up to the customer and says, oops, I underestimated this and here's the problem.
Right, but how? How are we improving the quote accuracy and what is the benefit of doing
The
this?
information provided to us right now is that all the Excel sheets that are made for the quotations are shared on a Google Drive. Now, all of this information is stranded. If you have 2,000 projects that you have worked on in the last 10 years, all of this are on a Google Drive somewhere. When you start using NetSuite, everything will be in one place. So when you have all the data of the information in one place, you can go ahead and analyze information such as the square footage of each project, the types of tiles that they used, the cost of those tiles, and how many tiles are needed for each square footage for the 3 different types, like the non-customized ones or the customized ones, and somehow analyze those data which we collect on NetSuite to generate a calculator. A normal calculator where a customer or even the sales manager can go and answer some questions, and it will use all the data from the past, depending on the square footage and everything, to generate a soft quote to you much faster. If that makes sense. Did I answer the question? Okay, thank you.
So on the topic of some of the costs, right, we're looking at partnering a little bit more closely with some of our implementation partners, getting them integrated into NetSuite, right? When it comes to some of our costs, how would our licensing costs be impacted by getting our implementation partners into NetSuite working with us?
Right. So we believe that every single new user that you add to NetSuite, your costs will be increased. However, right now we're only starting with 1 installer. So it wouldn't be a very significant cost increase, but we need to give him a different access to the NetSuite. They shouldn't have access to all the financials and everything. They should have a different access level where the only thing they can do is count the tiles and then put each and every style, the quantities on each and every tile that they need. Now, from the licensing fee standpoint, that is something that was a part of our implementation process where we need to talk to the negotiate deals with NetSuite and come up with our software solutions and find out the exact specifications that we need for everyone. And we believe that you're currently already implementing NetSuite in other parts of the business. So we can negotiate even a better deal with the sales managers that you know from NetSuite already and come up with better exact specifications and features that will have access, that the installers will have access to. Does that answer your question?
It does, thank you.
You had mentioned one of your benefits is reduction in data errors. How are we baselining what our data errors are today, and why are you confident that we can improve on that?
So one of the things that we received in, so currently there is data entry on the NetSuite CRM, not the project management. There is CRM where they record the opportunity. Then there is a lot of data being circulated inside to and fro between the employees on Slack, and then on the Excel sheet, and then again on the NetSuite to generate the quotation. So there is a lot of different steps which employees have to go through. We believe that if we streamline that into one process flow, then the number of times you have to manually enter the data will reduce, which will automatically reduce the data errors.
How do we know how many data errors are happening today?
That was not the information. I mean, we were provided with the cost savings of $20,000 per year right now, the cost that the data errors are costing. But we can get into the details of that in the next proposal.
Thank you for your presentation. Judges will give their feedback in this room at 11 a.m. Please return here at 11 a.m. If you would like to receive feedback on your presentation. At this point, you may exit the room with your license. As a reminder, you're not permitted to watch any other preliminary round presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.